Hi everybody, welcome to or back to Building the Bookshelf. Today we are talking about another one that is just like a warm hug. Even the front of the book, it's like very cheerful and summery and sunny and all of the things. So this is The Borrowed Life of Frederick Fife. Jennifer loves alliteration, so I love the title right off the bat. I love his name. But this is by Anna Johnston. This is actually her debut novel, and it was a great one. So this tells the story of Frederick Fife, if you didn't guess by the title of the book. This is a man who is just kind of down on his luck. He has gone through some tragedies in his personal life. He's an older gentleman and is getting to the point that he's going to be homeless. You know, he doesn't have the means to continue to support himself. He's on his own and is really just in a hopeless state of life, which is just heartbreaking, especially to be at an older person and be at that phase of life. So the book opens with, you know, he's trying to figure out what he's going to do and if he is just literally going to be left on the streets. He runs into a senior living facility and a nursing home that is taking their residents out on a little excursion, and he comes upon a gentleman who is part of the group who is in a wheelchair, and he realizes that the gentleman has passed away. So he's trying to get the gentleman up this hill. They're, you know, at a park by a river, trying to get this gentleman up the hill to let the staff at the nursing home know, hey, he is no longer with us. And it's kind of this random accident that happens that he slips going up the hill, the gentleman falls out of the wheelchair and goes into the river. Okay, so now he's scrambling, trying to get, you know, the gentleman that's fallen in the river, try to get somebody's attention or whatnot. And the nursing home staff assumes that Frederick is this gentleman that was in the wheelchair and that he needs to come home with them to the senior living facility. And it just kind of goes from there, where he's trying to tell people like, hey, my name is Frederick Fife. I am not who you think that I am. And then gets to a point where he's going, I don't really have any other options here. So maybe this isn't such a bad situation. And it goes through, you know, I think it gives a very accurate depiction of what a senior living facility is like, with just the different cast of characters. The author actually worked in a nursing home situation, and she had an accident personally, so she became an author because she wasn't able to continue that work, but she understands, which I think is why it's done so well, as far as what that kind of living situation looks like for people. And as I said, just the different cast of characters that are there. If you've spent any time in a senior living facility, whether you volunteered there or have had family members there, I think you'll pick up on a lot of the things that happen there. So it's telling the story there of, you know, what his life now looks like, and things get complicated when all of a sudden there's family for the gentleman who he is impersonating, when his family now becomes involved in the mix, because he's kind of been able to pass himself off to the staff, but you're not going to be able to pass yourself off to the family. So what is going to happen in that situation? So I appreciated the themes of, you know, like I said, I think we're all just a lot closer to a homelessness situation than we realize, and thinking about that, especially for someone who's older and some of the challenges that might come with that. I really had appreciation for this when I lived in Boston many years ago and was volunteering with a group there, talking to people who were on the streets. I think it's very easy for us to all stereotype and assume that it's XYZ that put them there and they just need to get it together and they don't want to, or whatever it is, right, that you've heard about as far as stereotypes are concerned. But when I was in Boston, we were talking to people who were my age at the time, who were Boston graduates, so they were educated people, and they couldn't get jobs. They had graduated with their degrees and were just struggling to get a job and get on their feet, and they didn't have support from family or friends to just kind of help them along that way. And so it really kind of changed my perspective that it wasn't always, you know, any one choice that they made. And even if it was, you know, one choice that someone made, we've all made poor choices in life. Does that mean that you need to be punished with, you know, not having food to eat or a roof over your head forever? They say, you know, most people are just a paycheck or two away from not being able to make their mortgage payment or their rent payment or whatever the case may be. So I think kind of trying to put that in perspective and having some more empathy for people. Hopefully we don't find ourselves in that same situation, but it could happen. And so, you know, not just judging and assuming we know the answer. So they explored some of those themes really well. I also think the theme of having some regrets about your life, I think we all have regrets. I know people say, no regrets and whatnot. On the one hand, I don't think that we need to dwell on the things that maybe didn't go as well as we hoped that they would, but I think we all have moments or decisions that we made that, yes, they might have turned out just fine and dandy in the end, but we would have done things differently. We wish we would have gone about it a different way, even if things turned out okay in the end. If we said something to somebody that we hurt them and we didn't mean to, like, I regret those things. I'm not going to go to that person and say, oh, well, I hurt you, but no regrets because YOLO, you know what I'm saying. So I think that we all have some of those moments, but it can also go on the other end of the spectrum where you can have that moment of regret that takes over your entire life and you can't move past that moment. And I think people so often punish themselves with that moment, which comes up again and again. And here he talks about, if I had just been home, if I had just been home. And when you read the book, you'll understand the story. Like, if I had just been home in time, that before you even know what the story is behind that, there's that quote in the text that he has in his mind: if I had just been home in time, things would have changed, things would have been different. When in actuality, it may have not been different and it may have not changed the outcome, and you're just carrying this huge burden of guilt with you forever. And I think the other people in your life don't want that either. So I thought that was an interesting theme. The other thing that I thought was very interesting was, hey, we all say we want to make amends with people, and we know we don't have endless time to do that. And what if your time does run out, or there is an accident, or something happens that's out of your control that you weren't able to make something right? Is there another way, through another channel, through another person, that you can try to rectify that so that you can put that to bed and you can have peace with that? So those are the questions I have for you. It's that, hey, what do you think? What would be a moment that you wish you could have a do-over about? Is there something that you're punishing yourself for unnecessarily? And is there a way to make it right in another way? And maybe get creative with it, because we all deserve to have belonging and we all deserve to have connection and not be punished for mistakes that may actually not be true mistakes forever. So Borrowed Life of Frederick Fife. Would love to hear what you think. I know that Anna Johnston is already working on her next title, so I'm really looking forward to that. I think that she's maybe found a niche for herself that she didn't plan on, so I'm looking to see what is coming up ahead for her, but this is a good one.